The main university, and then moonlight as an excel at night to be able to complement their salary. So this lecturer has like 3-4 jobs, and so you don't get the best. So by the end of the day, you get people who went to school, but they came out half-baked. So when you're about to employ someone, you realize that you have to employ someone, then teach them afresh how to even write an email, how to communicate, how to, when they talk to people, to look them in the eye, how to even say thank you, how to say please, like common courtesies. Things that they never learned in school.
So what's the problem? Is the problem community, or it is the system?
The problem is the education system, that our schools are overburdened by the number of students in schools. So every teacher is overwhelmed. They don't have enough teachers and enough teaching materials to be able to give our children good education. And that's why we realize anytime someone who's a middle class gets money, or the moment your job improves, the lighting is good now. Anytime someone gets some money, they decide to take the kids to private schools. But in my days, when I was a young man and I was in school, I remember that if you're a foolish child, you went to private school. But if you're a smart child, you went to public school. The majority of our leaders who are over 30 years old, or even older than that, went to public schools. But today, when you take a child to a public school, you're gambling away their future because you're not guaranteed they're going to get a good education.
That's interesting, Bonniface. Now, allow me to go back again on in terms of teachers not motivated. If you look at Tanzania, for instance, you know, they are very, very, I want to use the word humble, as in they've got courtesy. Is it like, you know, at Tanzania, we'll say thank you, we'll say please, you know, we'll say good morning, but, you know, well, I'm from Kenya, you are as well. We don't have that. So, are you saying us?
No, maybe that. So the small common courtesies can be taught at home. That is my work as a parent, to teach my kids to be obedient, to be respectful, and to be courteous. But you see, I don't think courtesy gets you the job done. You can be the most courteous person in the world, but if you don't have the skills to do the job, you're useless. So I don't think we should fault the school for not teaching our kids courtesies. That's not the work of a teacher to do that. My problem is that our schools are not teaching our kids or giving them the right education to be employable in the future, to be responsible citizens, to have civic education where they can be able to hold the leaders accountable. That is lacking in our schools.
That is interesting. Let's pick up soft skills now. And you've alluded to them, you know, leadership skills, critical thinking. Bonniface, I've got to be very honest with you. So I've been very privileged to work in various countries. And here in London right now, there are still people that, as you say, don't even know how to write emails, or, you know, don't even know how to conduct a meeting, for instance.
Yes.
And so it's not just a Kenyan problem. And you know, there is a publication by the World Bank, and it says that most young people or most families are likely to pay a lot of money for kids to go to school or to go to good schools, but the kids themselves do not really have soft skills. For example, how to write an email or how to write a proposal. So how do you develop that?
No, so you get the basics from school. So your teacher is not going to spoon feed you the entire curriculum and the entire syllabus, but you learn the basic skills in school. So I learned how to read I think between school and home, but I perfected the art of reading in school. So there are things that you must learn in school that can't be taught at home.
Where do you get the soft skills from then?
Like how to read, I learned letter writing in school. The letters that I wrote were my crushes and girlfriends when I was a young man. before there were those email in our country like available to everyone, and there are no telephones. We used to write notes to our girlfriend, and I was a very good letter writer. He write very well, and those things, my friend, you learn in school, but the practice to make it very good and make it perfect comes from self-initiative. But you see, I can't perfect what I haven't learned in school. So there's a role the school plays in teaching me the lessons. Then I apply the lessons, and they become part of my character and part of the skills that I have.
Bonnie, I've met your kids, and they are very, very confident people at a very, very young age. And people like that, Boniface. So was that because of you, or just where they were going to school?
That is mostly because of me and the mother. So because we are very outgoing people, we host friends, and we allow them to speak in front of strangers and everyone else. In our house, people vote for something to happen. Everyone has one vote. And so there's democracy in our house, and everyone must learn how to argue their case. So sometimes you only have one shower that is working in the house. So we have to vote who goes to shower first, and you'll have to agree. If you're going to go to a place, you all agree, 5 of us have to vote. Or if not 5 of us, at least 3, the majority must actually vote for a decision to be made. And so that has been taught and inculcated in our house because I'm an activist, and so I respect everyone's rights, including my kids have their own rights.
That's So are you saying, look, I want you to say something you're not saying. Look,
ask.
So you're saying it starts in the family. So, and again, I'm sorry to use example with your kids. So do you say that? So
no,
carry on.
No, context is very important. So you can start at home, depending the level of education the parents have and exposure. But telling me or expecting a grandmother or a mother in Muranga or in Kilifi, in a very rural area where there's no electricity, there's no water, and they never went to school to teach their kids these things, they can't do that because they never learned them. We live in a very patriarchal society, and so women are never heard. So if it's a single mother bringing up a child in Karachuonyo or somewhere in the village where they're never given a chance to speak, even the kids are not going to speak. So home is important, but sometimes the home is not favorable for you to learn those skills. So you learn them in school. And that's why you find that in pastoralist communities, the girls who are very outspoken, the one who avoid female circumcisions are the one who go to school. But if you stay at home because you don't know better, you follow the traditions that may be very backward, but you have to follow tradition. So the big thing is schools plays a critical role in teaching you the skills that you need to make it in life.
Well, you mentioned
but let me say this, let me add this. But your parents can teach you character and mold your character because you don't need to be educated to have integrity or to have values.
That's interesting. And I want to talk about integrity and values. But before that, let's go back to school again. So you mentioned that, well, I think I know how old you are, to be honest. So we're not that far. And so what you're saying, I can identify with. So, for example, you talked about public schools, and I want to talk about too the Olympics of those days, Olympics in Kibera. Yes. You used to do very well in KCP. Do you remember that time?
I do remember that, yeah.
And so we know the environment of Kibera, and kids that went to that school were not just the ones that came from Kibera. There were also people from Lavington, from Karen as well. So in that context, then, what has changed now at within Kibera school?
It's very simple. How much money is being spent by government per child? So teacher pupil ratio in class, the infrastructure that was in Olympic 20 years ago is the same infrastructure today. So maybe 20 years ago the class had 20 or 25 or 30 kids. Today the same class has 70 kids. So one teacher is teaching double the class intake. That has changed. Our government is spending less and less money on children. The other thing you have to realize, some of these kids go to school and they have no food in school. So then there's no meal. And it's very hard for you to learn on an empty stomach. So poverty has played a key role in ensuring that kids don't study well.
Right. Let's move forward now. Let's talk about, so someone's gone to university. They have graduated.
Yes.
Let's say they've got PhD even. But you
Yes.
hear stories that they still lack employment. They're not employed.
Yes.
Whose fault is that?
Now that's the fault of that's a tough one. But I think at the very heart of it, you can say that's the role of the government to create an enabling environment for people to have jobs. So the government can create jobs by employing people when they are doing, like, ministries employ people, the police employ people, the army employs people, but not everyone can be employed by the government. So the other place where jobs are is the private sector. But the private sector cannot thrive in a corrupt country where when you want to register or start a business, you must pay a bribe. There's a very sad story where Samsung was planning to start a factory, a plant in Kenya. And when they went to get a license for the plant, it was for a bribe of $2 million. But that was the same amount they're going to invest in the country. So they went to Rwanda. So you realize when a country is corrupt, when the leadership is corrupt, when a country glorifies thugs, investors shy away. When you have a country where the government does not respect the courts and court orders are not obeyed, people don't invest there. Because as an investor, I want to invest in a country where I know if I have a conflict with the government, or if I want something done and it's not done, I can go to court. But our government does not respect the courts. They don't respect court orders. The police themselves do not protect businesses. So the cartels and the what?
So please, no, carry on. Well, I was going to say this. So,
go ahead. Right. So the cartels and corruption frustrates businesses from starting. So what that means, people who could actually start a business or who could be able to invest, they don't invest. So you even find Kenyans who are abroad who don't invest in Kenya because they know it's hard to do business in this country. It's very difficult. Licensing is expensive. You want to open I saw a story about someone started a water plant, bottled water. They required about 14 licenses, which costed about $6,000, 600,000 shillings. And they haven't even started selling a single bottle of water. So the government makes it hard for us to do business and to be entrepreneurial.
Bonnie, so I work in international development, and I come across some of the stuff that you are mentioning. But let's forget about institutions. Let's forget about Let's talk about individuals. And in this case now, I am talking about graduates. Well, so yesterday, Alma Obama on Twitter, she was talking about it was actually two people. It was Alma Obama and Mutai Nguni, the political analyst.
Yes.
And Mutai was saying that he has to. Well, he wanted people to come work for him, and he could not find students. We talk about lawyers now that could do what he wanted them to do. So he had said that he wanted people from US and Canada, and that kind of.
That's Mutai Nguni.
Yes, it was on Twitter. I can share it to you right now.
Mutai Nguni.
Yes.
So Mutai Nguni is a criminal. He was mentioned in the National Service scandal, and his reason why. No, listen, hold on. So when you come to your show and they start quoting a thug who has helped thugs stay in power and helped institutionalize tribalism and thuggish leadership. So Mutai Nguni has no moral authority to speak about these things because of people like him, this country is poorer. So Mutai Nguni should shut up. Quote someone else, but don't quote for Mutai Nguni.
Bonniface, I'm going to put some filters here now.
No, what filters? Are you afraid?
No,
those are my opinions. And Mutai Nguni can go sue me.
Bonniface, let's look at let's look at his words. Okay, let's look at
I can give you his number if you call him.
Bonniface Mwangi, oi, body behave.
Yes.
Well,
all right.
Okay. Bonniface, okay, let's talk. Okay, so this conversation, he was having it with Alma Obama as well. And Alma Obama said that some of people that...
No, I agree with you.
So carry on, please, carry on.
No, I was saying, there's truth in what he's saying, but he's the wrong person to say these things because he's allowed people who should not be president to be president because of the things he has done for them. He works for a criminal. So if you work for a criminal, can come and tell us that things are bad. things are bad because of people like him. But it's the truth that our country level of education is very low. Our country institutions of higher learning are giving lower learning.
When you are running for office, you had lots of young people around you, isn't it? And you could see the
Yes.
potential, and look, I follow your story, man. So your campaign was funded by people, isn't it?
Yes.
So
True.
people around you, mostly, they were young people. So will you say that through that interactions, you think actually there's a vacuum in terms of professionalism of young people in Kenya?
Here you're blaming the victims. They're not unprofessional. They just don't know better. They never learned those things. So you can't expect a mechanic to become a heart surgeon if they never went to medical school.
We're talking about soft skills. We're talking about the writing of letters, picking up a phone call, talk to people.
But I'm just saying, these young kids are going to a school where there's only one book by the teacher. And the teacher comes to the class, dictates notes on the blackboard, then leaves. Then they never get to mark all the homework they do. Then that child lives in a community where there's no library or a place they can study. So they only study when there's a teacher in class, and that's the end of education. Then they go home, they have to go and look for firewood to come and cook some food or go look for water. So you're expecting so much and giving out so little. So there is no investment in their future. And that's the reason why they're struggling to have these skills. Because for you to learn how to write, you must read a lot. But where are you getting the books to read? I was in a school with 15 books, in approved school. I read all those books. There were no other books in school. So I had to read or continue reading as an adult. So the point is, Kevin, that these kids are just victims of a bad education system and the lack of investment in the education sector. If the government spend more money not buying expensive cars, not doing BBI, not paying salaries of members of parliament, but educating the future of our country, that means our country is going to develop and we can afford those big salaries and a helicopter for every politician. The problem is they're not investing in the future. They're stealing from the future by not spending money on education. And the money that is sent to schools, the little money that is sent in schools is stolen by the headmaster and some of the teachers and education officials.
Wow, I've got 3 more questions. I'll let you go, Bonniface. Question number 1. So,
all right. Yes.
I want to use you as an example. Okay, so you're saying that you dropped out of school. So where do you get your personality from? And I'm talking about 2 things here: your passion and your confidence. So these are soft skills that employers are looking for. Now, where did you get yours then?
Mwanaume ni kujichocha, bro. Yangu ni kujichocha. So confidence can be learned. You see, I was avoiding doing this thing because I was afraid you're gonna ask me tough questions. Because all of us struggle, we have esteem issues, and even at our best, we still have insecurities. And so confidence is something that you learn, just like public speaking. And you get good at it by practicing a lot. Passion comes from something that you love, what you're interested in doing. So if you're passionate about football, you study football and you play football and you do everything football. I'm passionate about activism and civic education and people's rights and human rights. So I study about those things, and I study about people who have done that, who came before us and walked on this path. So my point is that anything can be learned, because no one is born knowing to do things. You want to learn how to do these things. You have to learn how to wipe our asses. You didn't born learning how to wipe our asses. And now you're good at it. Same thing about communicating. Just communicate, and then you learn how to communicate very well.
Oh, come on, Bonniface. It's not that easy. So, okay.
It's easy if you put effort in it.
Right.
If you spend hours doing something, put effort. Sometimes I cringe at my typos on Twitter. There's a bean and bean. There are words that I always get wrong all the time. But I never stop typing those words, man. I get it wrong, people laugh at me, but I keep on writing. One day I'll get the difference between bean and bean. One day I'll get it. But for now I'm still struggling.
So it is about practice, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to keep doing it all over and over again. You become good at something by doing it all over and all over again. The same way you learn how to feed yourself and to bathe yourself. and now you can do it. That's the same thing with learn other skills, man.
That's interesting. Question number 2. So,
Yes, sir.
You talk about you just learn, keep learning, keep practicing. Now, here is a student here, a graduate, has
Yes.
done public relations. Did very well in school, and it's over 6 years now since they get employment. Where do they practice from, or how do they practice this?
You can become the public relation officer for your local shopkeeper, Mutura guy.
How do they get that, Boniface? That is a problem.
Now, you see, they have to invent or reinvent themselves. If you're out of work for the last 6 years, they say you must think about learning a new skill or doing something else. You don't sit there and wait for money to come from heaven. There's no money coming from heaven. So if you realize that you're choosing your first choice of career is not working for you, then you say, let me go and educate myself. You can spend some hours on YouTube learning a new skill. You can spend some hours in the public library. I think membership for Kenya National Library Service is about 500 shillings. You can decide to learn something, a new skill. Like, for example, if you look at, I'll give an example of a guy called Vincent Company, who's playing for Manchester City. And then he went to business management school and he graduated because he realized, when I reach in my 30s, my career is over, but I can be able to do that. That's why you find a footballer becomes a coach or becomes a live TV commentator. And most footballers are not good communicators, but they go and learn how to become a commentator so they can earn a living analyzing football matches. So rethink and say, for the last 6 years, I haven't gotten a job. So I'm going to get off my ass and find something else to do with my life and my degree.
But just on that thought, Bonifaz, and I'm going to again put in spot here. So when you had this program, not to Kweli, where you're kind of producing documentaries of people that I know. And you put on Twitter, you want people to come and work with you. I know at least 4 people that came to me, and I think they saw you. You had tweeted something about whatever, and someone say, "But Kevin, Boniface never replies to emails. He never gives opportunity. So where do you get him from?" And you had put a word, you want people to come and help you, but you never respond to these guys. So the question is, people with opportunity are not accessible.
So my problem was, so some quality is something that I was doing out of my own time and using my own money, and it was taking too much of my time. It was very exhausting.
Oh, come on, Boniface. Using your money, really?
Yes,
I was.
On
your pocket?
Yes, I was using my own money to run it. I was paying people from my own pockets. Then I ran out of money. So I realized it's true. So I realized people are writing to me to do these things. Like now, there's a story on my inbox, like 2 or 3 stories that I think I want to share today. But I stopped sharing stories because it was taking too much of my time, a lot of emotional investment, a lot of finances, and it's just tiring, my friend. And the other thing is actually that managing those people requires time and resources that I did not have. So I stopped. That's the thing, because I don't have money to pay people and I don't even have the time to do it, because at the end of the day, I still have to pay bills in my house. Yes. And I can't pay bills with some Okoli. I was volunteering my time and energy to do that.
Wow, I see. I didn't know this at all. So you use your own funds. So in relation to soft skills now, so you're telling me that yes, even people with opportunity.
Like now, I can tell you, I have an invoice from a company that is overdue because I haven't paid for the website. I'll send it to you right now, you see, because that's the story, that these things I have to do it with my own dime.
Do you reach out? Do you?
But so, go on, Boniface, you're asking something.
So Boniface, the reason why I'm asking this, and it's very important to me, is that people see you, or not just you, I'm talking about other people as well, people that they're doing interesting stuff, very, very inspiring things, but now you're telling me here that you're actually using your own resources, so you don't get any support.
Yes, I was using my own resources for Semo Kweli, yes. And then if you go online and ask people to give you money, they'll say, oh, unaomba pesa, oh, unafanya nini. So it becomes very difficult. Because who was paying me for Semo Kweli? No one. I registered the website with my money. I was doing those things with my money. I'm actually sending you a proof of that as I talk to you so that you can see. Wow. It's something I would like to do every day. Because there's so many.
So, okay, please
so I was saying, there are so many things I can be able to do. Like I could be doing some call every day. I wake up to look at people's problems, highlight and get justice. But to do that requires that I need to be earning a living from that or getting some money. And
how much will it cost you? How much will it cost you? Right? Just for box standard. How much will it cost you to run Simukweli per month?
For a month?
Yes.
Paying people minimum money. Like if I have I need an editor for print, I need an editor for video, I need a videographer, a photographer, and maybe a designer. Those are 5 people, plus me for 6. And if I would say, let's get a stipend for the work we do, so everyone gets maybe between 40,000 and 50,000, the 6 of us, that would be 300,000 shillings a month. And all of us, we're just volunteering, because if I was to ask you to pay me what I'm worth, it's much, much more money.
Of course.
So with $3,000, I can have a small team who just says every 2 hours of a day, we do some call every day. Problem is, I don't have money to pay people for that. I don't have money to pay anyone. So I can't do it.
Can I ask you, and please, I've got one more question, but before that, can I ask them? So, do you want us to try this challenge? Do you want us to say, well, I mean, it's an opportunity, Bonniface, that, you know, people can get kind of experience. It's an employment opportunity, really. So, do you want us to try this? And ask, not you now, I'm going to do that. Do you want us to put out there, say, look, we've got this platform here. We need 300K per month to run it. Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
So there's
want to do that.
Let's not talk about that one first. Is because for people that don't understand Mokweli, please, you know, just Google it. You see what I mean. The reason I'm talking about this is it can also get sponsorship from other people as well. You know, there are lots of people that are doing, or even companies in Kenya, you know, we want to support this kind of work that you're doing.
So companies in Kenya would not support advocacy work or anything that looks like activism, because most of them are owned by politicians, or they're afraid of the government hitting back at them if they support the work we do. The challenge, the problem I have with that, of doing an appeal, is that I'll have to be accountable for people's money. Because if you're going to raise 300,000 shillings, you have to look for about maybe 600 or 1,000 people who are going to send you 10 bob, 20 bob, 100 shillings. That means that I have to do full-time accounting. For my campaign, when I was fundraising, there was someone running the account where the money was going. I never handled the cash. I had a team that, if I was to do this thing, that means I have to do this. I have to put up a structure. Maybe I'll do it next year. I don't need, but for me to start and be able to do it, I need to get someone says for the next 3 months, everything is covered. Now start doing it. That would help. But if you're telling me to start fundraising online, is now I have to deal with trolls, I have to deal with the government, I have to deal with insults. I don't have the emotional energy to deal with those people.
Wow. Last question, but first, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
So, you are telling me again right now that the problem is not about individuals, it's about the system we have in terms of employment.
Yes, it's that this country has no created opportunities for its people to work. Like there are very few opportunities. You find one job application, one job vacancy, you find like 3,000 applications. So you must think, how well do we utilize our young people? How do we ensure that they don't have to migrate from the village to come to Nairobi, because in Nairobi there's no work? And we have to rethink how we run this country. We import a lot of finished goods. We can just decide no, from maybe 2021 or 2022, we can't import toothpicks and small things that we import. We must say we must start doing manufacturing for ourselves. But the problem is, in this country, electricity is very expensive. How do we lower the cost of electricity so that people who are running small businesses are going to get reliable and cheap electricity to do their business? How do you ensure that every home has water? Like we lack basic things. So for a country to develop, you need infrastructure. That means you need water, you need electricity, and you need roads. And then above all, you need security, that you're safe when you're doing your business. Those things are not there. So if you invest in such things, then the country thrives. And then you have to fight corruption and make it easier for people to do business without bribing.
Wow, Boniface, it's not it's not the kind of conversation I was hoping for, but but you said things are quite interesting, Boniface. How is Softy doing anyway?
It's doing very well. Still in the theaters. It's the number one performing movie in Kenya. People love it. Because of COVID, not as many people are going to the theater because they're full, but people have loved it a lot.
Well, I've
Yes.
watched
So if you haven't
myself.
watched Soft, you can watch Soft.
Well, so again, I mean,
And you need to, no, I'm saying people need to go and watch Softy, but you need to watch the fuller version. So the UK version is 1 hour, but there's
yes,
the real film is 93 minutes.
right.
So you need
Yes,
to
yes.
watch the full version.
Yes, when they show it on TV here, no, actually we watched the whole program. It took like 2 hours, Boniface. I think it was it
It
not?
was okay. Okay.
And I've got to
Oh,
say it
if
was
it
very,
was,
well from what I watched
right.
on TV on BBC4. Yeah, it had a lot of very good reviews, from people, with my friends here, and it's quite courageous, Boniface. And I've got to say, thank you so much for what you're doing, Bonnie. And you may not
Thank you.
you may not hear this every day, but I can tell you, Boniface, many people are behind you, and it's good. You've said sometimes you, as a human, we do mistakes. You get tired, but we are behind you, man. And I want to say thank you so much for gracing my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And at least you didn't disappear like Major.
I
We've
hope
got to say, Boniface, can we just be very clear here that I'm not paying for this? I mean, I cannot afford you.
no, you're a rich man. You're a rich man. Pay me.
Boniface, no, Boniface,
I'm gonna send you my lawyers.
I'm going to show the bloggers because they will see this. Because some people say that, I was paying them to come to podcast. I don't pay anyone. I've not paid you to be here. I cannot afford it. So you have to admit
Kevin is a broke ass man. He doesn't pay nobody.
Bonnie, thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Asante.
Yeah, thanks, Bonnie. Bye for now.
Bye bye.